I did not have any money. Okay, so I used my credit card to buy a ticket to India, Bombay, spend the night in some cheap hotel, and then morning it was raining in Bombay. So I take the train, I go there, but then I have to take a taxi. So I take the taxi. I get off the taxi, and my shoe had a hole, and my foot went into the puddle, and my socks was all wet. You know what happens, right?
I have seen your LinkedIn profile. Like obviously, मेरे को थोड़ा survey करना पड़ा sir before
Yeah.
getting in contact with you. So I was seeing that you have done a variety of things during your career. So there must be a lot of turning points जहाँ पे मतलब आपको लगा होगा कि this was the point. अगर ये नहीं होता तो शायद मेरा career आज ये नहीं होता जो मैं आज है.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So we want to know those turning points, including your journey experiences, and what were the failures and what you learned जहाँ पे आप आज हो.
Okay. Wow, that's gonna take quite a while. But I'll keep it summarized. I hope I can remember. Okay. See, when you start, I think where you guys are, we are with the mindset that I can do it all. I'm the rock star. I'm gonna ride every wave, and I'm gonna achieve everything. And that's what is the right attitude, because that's what helps you to learn a lot, right? And put that extra effort which a married person or a person with kids might not, because you have all the energy, all the focus, all the effort, right? So I started, actually, I was supposed to join L&T, L&T IT, Larsen and Toubro. And so it was in September. And why I remember this, because that was the turning point for me, where I just took a very different turn. Otherwise, I would be somewhere else in a different world altogether. So there was a company called eLock, which was a cybersecurity company, and us, obviously, all of us being from defense background. So I said, okay, what the heck? Let's just go and join them. So they had a very vigorous, interview, and which kind of impressed me that, L&T, it was like 1 day or 2 days, and these guys have like called me 5, 6 times, and they're asking me to code one time and then another time, and then this guy asked me. I was like, wow, this is good, because I was really pushed, to really get into it, and it was in same time, June, July. So I said, okay, September I'll go and join L&T. Now I can join, these guys for 3 months just to see what startup is all about. And in I think so. I got in, and it was a small team, around 20 people, out of which few in US, few in India. And what happened was that, so one good day I was doing some module, and then I gave it, and then that DLL went in, and then they said, oh, we all got to get together, and then we have to celebrate something big that's going to happen for the company. And then they put it on a big screen. You remember, it's not used to be big screen. It used to be that, projector, right? So over there, next thing we see in the evening was Bill Clinton signing, Digital Act in US using our product. And then it struck me that this is powerful, right? A startup, which is 20 people, and the strongest person in the world is using that product. And that's what just trickled me then, saying, okay, there are two things which I took away on that day, which was practically 1 month in my job, was that startups are awesome because they can be very powerful. And second thing was cybersecurity is going to be super awesome, right? And that's what just pushed me. And obviously, I never joined L&T. I worked with eLock for a year and a half, and then after that, so over there. I worked a lot with Department of Defense projects, a lot of US projects, because that's where the Digital Act got done. So that was my not really planned, but a very awesome start on getting into startups. So obviously, I didn't start my own company immediately because I didn't have any experience. And on the other hand, I said, okay, cybersecurity is very good. And that's what kind of elevated my journey towards that. So then me and Anupam opened a company called Loka, which was more like Craigslist, which is in US. So we were trying to do this in 2000, which failed miserably. Then after 2 years, I tried to start a company called Talentai, which was something like the Dark Mirror or the Black Mirror, which you get in Netflix now, where you can choose what you want to do. We wanted to do it using DVDs in 2002, and that also failed miserably. And then ELOC got me back in, and that's where I started. And then I, again went into NSF, where I moved to ASEAN, and then I started EasyMcom, and then the rest of the story. So the starting point was totally stumbled upon, but it was something which I realized on day one or a first month of my job, that it has to be a startup, it has to be cybersecurity, because these two things were very much close to my heart.
Right,
And I
sir.
have had occasions in my life where I had no money in my pocket, and I have come from there. Oh yeah, I have to tell you one more incident. So when we started EasyMcom, so from US contact of ours, because that's where we got the money from, funding from. So they fixed an appointment with Axis Bank in India, and I was in Malaysia that time, and I did not have any money. Okay, so I used my credit card to buy a ticket to India, Bombay, spend the night in some cheap hotel, and then morning it was raining in Bombay, so I take the train, I go there, but then I have to take a taxi. So I take the taxi, I get off the taxi, and my shoe had a hole, and my foot went into the puddle, and my socks was all wet. You know what happens, right? And this was like, and then I'm going into a meeting the CIO, CTO of Axis Bank with a hole in my shoe. So that was like rock bottom. So things like that happens in life, but then the only way is up, because I know that that was the day I survived that, and now I can survive something better or worse also. So that was one of the second thing which I really remember. Even no money, I was still cool, and we actually got Axis Bank. We got Axis Bank. We worked with them a lot, and it was super cool. I just want to add to that. There will be two things which you need to understand, that when you work with a large company, you learn about processes, okay, which are equally important. When you work in a startup, you learn about proximity and passion. So when you marry these two, so meaning what I'm saying is that if you can gain experience of working in a large company, either as an intern or a short term or part time, and also have an experience of working in a startup, and if you can marry them both, that's the best combination. You know, so that is my learning, because I have interacted with other people, and then I get to learn, and I have my own mentors who help me out. So my most experience from day one has been very much driven by startups, which is lovely. But then I always felt that there was a lag in how I can create my strategy or my processes, which a bigger company like EY or Deloitte or PricewaterhouseCoopers, I'm not sure about Infosys as a name, but have those processes which can help you to elevate yourself from 10x or 20x or 50x growth. Because passion can give you the solution initially, get you the first 3 or 5 clients, but the processes will take you into a growth, right? So passion and processes is what is needed to help you grow. That's what I have realized lately. So I surround myself with a lot of people who are very process driven, because I am not. So I am very ad hoc when I do things, but these people around me help me put the processes in. So much. Yeah.
Yeah.
MBA might add more value. It's just that it has never called me. So if it has never called me to do that, because you can always, as a company, you can always think of having the right person who can do the job well. So I might play a role of a CTO than a CEO or CFO, because CFO needs to know finance better. Operationally, the CEO needs to do that. So at some point, when you grow as a company, you decide that, okay, I will do this better, and I need to have people who could be the best of MBAs, who could be the best of finance or accounts or whatever, do those parts, and that's what startup actually needs to grow to become, because we cannot do everything. I might do an MBA, but I cannot be a CEO and a CFO and a CEO, right? I need to take one role. So that's where you need to be, what is your passion, and then follow that.
Breaking all the myths, like कि management is very like important कि जो startups करते हैं, and then most of the people who do startups are from the management background. You are breaking that myth. So on that note, sir, you must be meeting a lot of people from the management background all the way. So do you feel sometimes like you should have done MBA, so there could be a point कि आप उनसे better हो, या फिर हो सकते थे उनसे, like कोई edge miss हो रहा है आपसे? So, have you ever felt so?
No, not really, not really. For the simple reason is because Uh, when you are creating a startup, you are trying to solve set of problems through a single solution or a platform. So now that could be either a service or it could be a product, right? Now, when you are the champion of that, and you are the one who has the maximum knowledge of that, product or service that you are pitching to them, right? It's a great value. And the second thing is that when you're pitching to somebody, there would be certain aspects, what I call it as the 4 P's: people, process, product, and price, right? Now, if you are covering all that, all these 4 components, or the 4 P's or the pillars, whatever presentation you make, either at the top level or the middle level, or a bunch of MBAs or a bunch of PhDs, it's fine, because you know your subject, you know that you have covered these 4 pillars, and that's what everybody expects out of you, right? So I don't feel that there has been lack of management. Okay. What I think a company needs to do is that they need to become the right set of people. It could be a team of 4 or 5 or 2, but that has to be sufficient enough to cover all these 4 pillars. Yeah.
Right.
So one guy can be, so pricing is one of the key important parts. But then you can read a lot of books. You don't need to actually go and do an MBA, but you can actually have somebody tell you or read a couple of interesting books on how do you price a service, how do you price a product, and then from that learn, apply to your own business, and then carry on. So constant learning is something that is very important. Not really going and getting a degree the way I see it, but learning and evolving with your thoughts, with new subjects. One of the most important thing which I realized, which I didn't do it for first 5 to 7 years, even though we started our own company, was I did not know accounts, balance sheet, right? Profit and loss. This is a must when it comes to, I would say, opening your own company, right? So I did not do it myself, but then I realized that I have to do it. So then I said, okay, I have hired an accountant. Okay, you know what? You're going to sit with me. We're going to have a beer. You're going to explain me what this, shitty document is.
Right. Currently, you are working on multiple startups like Edgecom and Blue Bricks, Mola, and you have started a new venture also, Deep
Deep dive.
in January 2020. So,
yeah.
आप कैसे manage कर रहे हैं all these, and how does your everyday life looks like?
Okay, everyday life is extremely busy. For the simple reason is because there's too much to handle. Okay, one of the things which I kind of evolved was I have my own formula of how you take an idea to a venture. So meaning that what should be the minimum viable product, where I should get a technical guy to make something for me. How do I utilize a graphics person to give me the UI that I want for my presentation, pitching, and all that, right? So days are very busy, but days are very much segregated in terms of what am I supposed to do when it comes to deep dive? What am I supposed to do when it comes to Bluebricks clients, or XZM and all that? There are a few products under Bluebricks, and what I do with, Moolatech. So Moolatech is a bit older. It's already got a client, so we get a lot of repeat orders. And the most efficient way is that because we have an underlining stack that cuts across all these companies. So, okay, now you would ask me, sir, why are you creating so many companies? Right? It's a valid question, right? Why are you creating Deep Dive, Moolatech, Bluebricks, Crib? There is a new one which is coming in. Okay. The reason for that is that it is, consider this like this, that if there is a value in Crib or in Deep Dive, and there is a company who wants to acquire that, okay, and they are not interested in our XZM, XPay, IntelliOCR, all these other products, right? So we can sell that entity separately, or we can merge with somebody separately, right? And this is the same strategy which a lot of insurance companies follow. So sometimes if you know about insurance companies, what they do is they'll have a parent company which will be at the back, and they'll have a lot of smaller, front-end companies who will be actually, owning them, right? So the parent owns them, and then even if one of them collapses because of some bad name or, legal dispute or whatever, then the others survive, and you are well protected at the back. So it's a very planned strategy which larger group of companies use to actually create, sub companies and then build it across. So that's the idea right now, that we're going to have separate companies who will have different value propositions, and then there could be a different sale value of that. So I am actually pushing myself, not just opening a single company, but opening few companies, and each one of them is valued much higher.
Okay, sir. So, as you have mentioned that EasyMcom was your first successful company. Before that, you worked with Loka, and as you mentioned that
Talentai. Yeah.
you that failed, and after that, after 2 years, you started one more company, and that failed as well. So, can you brief us some more about those times? What did it feel like? Were there any moments of self-doubt? And
What a lot of self-doubts. My girlfriend also left me that time. Which was fine. I couldn't afford her that time, so it's okay. Jokes apart. Okay, one of the realizations which happened was that when we started, Loka.net, which was exact replica of Craig's Online, we were way before market for India. Way before time. When I say we were way before time for India. And the second thing was that we were not fully into it because we were doing our day job, and then we were trying to build this platform at night. So what happens is that because you get tired when you're working, you get tired, you come back, you say, oh man, I don't want to do this. I do it on the weekend, but then weekend something else happens, and the next week happens. So the pace of motivation. So the way how much you're motivated versus how much deliverables are coming out, they don't match, right? So that's where Loka failed. So the two important lessons was that don't be before time. And second is, if you gotta do it, you gotta be skin deep in it. You cannot say, I will do, my job and then I'll do something else, because it is not fair to you, because you need a rest, you need a break. And it is also not fair for your idea, because you are not giving the due love and care and devotion to your idea, right? So both the things are not working out, So it's like you want to have a girlfriend, but you only want to have a girlfriend when, you are available. It doesn't work like that, right? And if you get married, no way it will work like that. Your wife will throw you out, right? So that's the first lesson when we learned in Loka. So be on time, be at the right time, and then give 100%. Then when at Talentai failed, we had 4 founders. 2 of them were US returned investment banker. The other guy was Purdue MBA. I was the tech guy, and there was this girl who was the director, the arts person. We all were great people, awesome friends, excellent in thinking new ideas. Execution was not a problem. But all of us did not have one thing. We had zero idea of entertainment industry. We did not know what it's like to make a movie. Okay. So you are creating a company with amazing set of 4 founders with amazing experience, but not relevant to the problem you're trying to solve. Okay. So second lesson, I would say one of the most important lessons learned in Talentai was that you have to be an expert, okay, in the problem that you're trying to solve. If you are not an expert, if you're coming from an outsider, you need to get somebody who knows about it, okay, because you know that you can execute it well, you can disrupt it well, you can have all the elements, but you don't know about that subject. So that is a disaster, waiting to happen. Okay. So in Talentai, that was one of the key things that we learned. And the second thing was, if you don't have the team, who's experienced enough, then nobody is going to invest in you. So that was the second lesson that I learned in Talentai, because we went to a lot of investors, tried to talk about them, that this is what we want to do and all that. They were very happy, but nobody put the money on the table. Even though the guy is from Purdue, the guy who's an investment banker in US, okay, fine. Myself was just tagging along, this girl, but still, it was not the right team to get the money. Moola Tech, when we opened Moola Tech, I have to tell you how we did that differently, because then EasyMcom happened. EasyMcom, we actually got some money from US because we were experts in that. We were solving the problem in cybersecurity. So we knew that what we are trying to solve. The investor said that, okay, I think you guys can do it, so we will invest in you, right? And then obviously that thing. So what I learned was that you need to be on the right time. You need to know what, you need to be a subject matter. You need to be in it, to win it. If you don't do this, then again, it will not work out. It's a lot of combinations to actually make your startup happen. It's not just like, take an idea, run with it. I'm a millionaire. No, you will not see your first million for first 2 to 3 years, and you'll have everything else collapsing in, near, around you, and you still need to be focused. And when you walk into the meetings, you still need to be very calm, even though you know that you don't have any cash flow. You still need to be very, very, calm, as if you don't need the business. You're not hungry for it. But internally you are like, this deal is what will make me, you're getting me. So that kind of patience, perseverance, these are the other attributes which are also needed,
You started Easyumcom in 2006 with Anupam sir, right?
Yeah.
And after that, as you have written on your LinkedIn, you got it from the first line of code to first 6 million figure sales. In sales. So can you tell us about the journey it took from starting to write the first line of code to getting where it is right now?
Oh, okay. Wow, man, that is like 2000. Wow, that is way back. No, see, Ratha and me started because we were in the same company, and we were working for NSS, Network Security Solutions. And then, so, we obviously were looking at Easyumcom. The name Easyumcom came from Easy Mobile Commerce. So Easyumcom, that was the name. So we did a POC with Wells Fargo. We did a POC with Bank of America. And sadly, they said that it's too early because people, the phones which were having, the Symbian phones, I'm not sure. I think it might be, a very faint idea for you. But we actually made a software app which would get installed, and then you can actually do, transactions. So it was based on SMS and GPRS, 2G or whatever, 1.5G, whatever that time. And okay, see, what happened with Easyumcom was that we got some funding. Okay, so that was good because it was not, it was hard because most of the money was going into people, and people, people are expensive. Okay, and they work because of the monthly billing cycle. They have their own commitments, so they need the money coming in. So we did a couple of POCs, but they didn't succeed. And then what happened was that we obviously Axis Bank was one of the first clients. So we were competing with a giant called RSA. RSA is one of the big security vendors. So we were competing with them. And on the other hand, we had, because the technology was so new, so we were able to convince one of the Malaysian banks, CIMB, to test it out and pilot it out. It's hard to say what is the success formula, because after Easyumcom, Moolatech, Bluebricks, it's just kind of, it's different. You don't know what really works. So you try everything, and it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. So it worked for Easyumcom, but it did not work for Moolatech. What worked for Moolatech did not work for Bluebricks. But how we reached was that we were coding a lot initially, and we were very frugal in terms of spending, because one of the things what happens is that because when you get more money, you want to do more things, right? But then at the same time, if you spend more, you need to make more money, because now you have increased your operational cost, right? Bottom line is higher. So what really reached, okay, it did not take too many deals for us to reach a million figure. For the reason is because security is a premium. So, and especially when we are doing it that time, it was more premium. Now you still see a lot of companies, doing work in cybersecurity. So we, I think, cracked around 3 deals, which kind of helped us to reach that part. So it was a very interesting business model. So one of the takeaways which I would like to share with you is that you need to build the pricing part, right? So you have the people, you have the product, right? You have the process in place, and the pricing is going to make you or break you. Okay? If you sell too cheap, you are going to die. If you sell too expensive, nobody's going to buy. You're still going to die, right? So, and you need to make a pricing model which doesn't work only for you, but it also works for the client, right? They are going to pay you for solving their pain, but at the same time, you are going to solve your own pain. That means you're actually solving, you're a doctor who's also sick and you have a sick patient who's also sick. So, and you need to have a medicine which, so in a way, what I'm trying to tell you is that pricing is one of the most critical aspects of how you're going to position it. And nobody will pay you a single dime, even if you, three of you also will not pay a single dime, unless you trust the person. I'm not talking about the company. You trust the person whom you are doing the interaction with, right? So that is also very much elementary to getting from, from 0 or 100,000 to 500,000 to a million, because that's what happens. And that was, I'm talking about, way, almost 15, 18 years back, right? So trust, pricing, cybersecurity was at the peak. So all these combinations worked very well for us to do that. Now, I have changed my formula, which I'll share it with you. Normally, I have patented it, trademarked it, but I'll share it with you guys. The new way of me going and building something is very different now. What I do is I do two things, in essence. I will create, I'll spend a week with my team. I will create a minimum viable product skin. Okay. That skin will go into my presentation, which will cover all the 4 aspects that I've told you. And it will give very briefly what the experience of your customer would be, or where the benefit would be, or whatever. Okay. And then what I'll do is that I'll tell them that, hey, this is not ready yet. Okay. We are working on this product, and we want to give you the best price and be the first one. You're not guinea pigs. If you don't like it, 100% money back. We will give all your money back. No problem. But right now, I want you to put 10% of the purchase price on the table. Now, if let's say I'm selling something for $100,000 for next 2 years or whatever, right? And I say 10%, that will be 10,000. That 10,000 times 10 customers is 100,000. Now, if I'm able to convince 10 customers that this solution is worth 100,000 for you, I have already won as a product or as a company, because I have no product, I have 100,000 cash, I have 10 customers, and those 10 customers, once I deliver to them, they will give me 1 million, right? So now you see that what I did in EasyMcom, I didn't even know all that, because we were just going and banging all the doors and blah, 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 and all that, But now I know, okay, it's deep dive. Okay, it's Crib. So with Crib, what we have done is that we have tied up with a property management company to build a software. And we told them that we'll make this, software for you. So we will own it. It will be our IP. But what we want is that we don't just want you as a client. We want you to bring another 5 clients. Okay. And whenever you get the 5th client, I will make this solution 50% discounted forever for you. So meaning every client they get me, they will give me 10% back, 10% back, 10% back to them, right? Now, if you see what I was telling you earlier worked very well with Moolatech and Bluebricks, but now this particular model works very well with Crib, because you need to understand the dynamics of who, where, what, is the value, and then you need to make your decisions, right? So this model will work for Crib. Different model works for Deep Dive, different model works for Axiom, different model works for, so you need to make that decision. But you need to remember one thing, that you want to get customers, you want to get cash flow, you don't want to depend on VCs. VCs are vultures. Don't they are the worst thing that can happen to your company. Okay, they will, as a founder, they will trouble you so much. They will ask you for reports. They will ask you why company is not growing. They will ask you why you're not doing this, why you want to hire more people. All that is distraction from your core focus, right? So the point is that you need to be focused, and there are many ways of how you're gonna skin the cat. Are you gonna do, like as I told you, build up a MVP, go to them, get those POs, then build a product or build something, and then go there and say that, okay, I'm building it for you, but I want you to get 5 more customers. So these are the different things you need to play around with, and these don't really involve any money, because this is all about people and trust, right? So the more you are trustworthy, the more business you'll have. And one of the things which happened in Axis Bank was that when Mr. Ram, which was very, very senior, big time ex-banker, 30, 40 years of experience, he said, Vikram, you are very young. I said, yeah, because I was 24, 25 or something like that. And I said, yes, sir, I'm very young. I know that. He says, you know what, we just trust you. Even though we don't know you, you're a new company, we don't care, who knows EasyMcom, what, we don't know you. You're like nobody to us, right? But somehow we trust you. And we will give you a chance. If you do this POC with Infosys, whatever, internet banking, then we will give you the order. So that is how we got in. So it's somehow, again, I'm not sure what clicks for anybody and everybody, but it's just that you need to find your niche. You need to know yourself. You need to know what limitations are around you, what boundaries around you. And then after that, you need to think and then solve these 4 key problems, right? And that's how I feel anybody who's embarking upon this journey should do. कभी भी अपने मम्मी पापा के पैसे या अपने भाई बहन के या दोस्त के पैसे नहीं जलाने, नहीं करना है। साला मैकडॉनल्ड में जाके काम करो, उबर चलाओ।